Ukrainian drones, missiles, and artillery devastated a Russian assault group outside of the town of Siversk in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast on or just before Wednesday, blocking the Russians' latest attempt to punch through Ukrainian defenses in order to drive at the so-called Fortress Belt, a chain of Ukrainian cities stretching through Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. It was a rare armored assault in a war where armored vehicles are increasingly vulnerable to drones, mines, missiles, and artillery. At least 4 Russian vehicles, a tank and 3 fighting vehicles, rolled towards Siversk in broad daylight. The tank fired shells. At least 1 vehicle popped smoke grenades, its crew clearly hoping to hide the assault group from Ukrainian drones. It didn't work. Drones from the Ukrainian 4th National Guard Brigade spotted the Russians mid-assault. Massive firepower rained down, including explosive, first-person view drones, drone-dropped grenades, an apparent Javelin anti-tank missile, and cluster artillery. In the first minutes of repelling the attack, 1 tank and 3 units of enemy armored vehicles were hit, the Ukrainian brigade reported. A dozen or more Russian infantry managed to dismount from the harried vehicles. First-person view drones, bomber drones, and artillery made quick work of them. If the Russian assault was as poorly led as it appeared to be, it may have been doomed from the beginning. It's typical, as Russia's wider war on Ukraine grinds into its 40th month, for Russian regiments to send undertrained, unprotected troops on reconnaissance by force missions in the early hours of a planned attack, often in civilian cars and trucks or on motorcycles, all-terrain vehicles, or even electric scooters. Believe it or not, there's a deliberate strategy at play. Yes, it's costly. No, it doesn't always fail. Unencumbered by heavy armor, lightly equipped Russian recon troops can move fast, and that gives them a chance, if not a great one, to get across the drone-patrolled, mine-seeded, artillery-pocked no-man's land before Ukrainian brigades can deploy their heaviest firepower. These troops are ordered to advance towards where they assess Ukrainian positions to be, conducting reconnaissance by drawing fire, Nick Reynolds and Jack Watling explained in a study for the Royal United Services Institute in London. If the group encounters resistance, Russian commanders assess where they believe the best lines of approach are, and in particular, where the boundaries between defensive units lie, Reynolds and Watling added in their February study. If Ukrainian positions are positively identified, sections are persistently sent forward to attack positions, which are further mapped and then targeted with artillery, FPVs, and UMPK glide bombs, Reynolds and Watling wrote. When rotation or disruption of the defense is achieved, Russian units aim to conduct more deliberate assault action. What's most important is that the deliberate assault actions involving heavy vehicles only takes place after the lighter recon forces have identified a safe route across the no-man's land, and Russian artillery, drones and bombs have suppressed the nearby Ukrainian forces. Russian commanders don't appear to have followed the usual plan outside Siversk on Wednesday, and potentially scores of Russians paid with their lives. But don't expect the Russians to give up. The Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies anticipated further Russian action in the area. The 3rd Combined Arms Army will try to break through to the northern bank of the Siversky Donets River between Yampil and Hryhorivka, and from the southeast towards Siversk, CDS predicted. If the Wednesday assault didn't end with the millionth Russian casualty, the next assault just might. Ukrainian forces are gradually driving Russian troops back from parts of Sumy Oblast, President Volodymyr Zelensky said on June 12, amid escalating cross-border assaults in the region. Today, there was a report from Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrski the front, and above all, the Pokrovsk direction, the Kursk operation, the border area of Sumy Oblast, Zelensky said in a video address. Our units in Sumy Oblast are gradually pushing back the occupiers. Thank you to each of our soldiers, sergeants, and officers for this result. The statement follows weeks of intensified Russian offensives along the northeastern border. Russian troops have advanced into Sumy Oblast since Ukraine's withdrawal from most of its positions in Russia's Kursk Oblast in March. Russia has reportedly taken control of about 200 square kilometers, 80 square miles, in northern Sumy Oblast, including roughly a dozen small villages. As of May 31st, mandatory evacuations were ordered for 213 settlements. In May, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered his military to create a so-called security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine, while Zelensky said on May 28 that Moscow had massed 50,000 troops near Sumy. In a separate interview with Bild on June 12, Zelensky dismissed Moscow's claims of significant territorial gains as a Russian narrative aimed at shaping global perceptions. He stressed that Ukrainian forces have managed to hold off a renewed offensive for nearly 3 weeks.
Скачок може бути там і... Гармата! Постріл! Постріл!